So my name is Jim Pasmore. I'm Josh Pasmore's father, and you're apparently well oriented with Josh as to what his goals are in life. Uh, my situation has been quite a different path than Josh's. I came through the business community, and in that area I spent a good part of my life, and I was pretty much a typical success-minded businessman until I had an experience that changed my life, like so many of us do. Sometimes it's a really downer, and sometimes it's not. This was just a mere near-death experience. I was 31 years old, and I had a near miss on a motorcycle where I was passing a car, and another car pulled out in front of me. And I was going 70 miles an hour, had no place to go. And I knew I was dead. And that's the thought that went through my mind. And at that point, I left my body. And my autonomic system took over. But while it was doing that, in the three and a half seconds between the time that I saw the crash coming and I knew it was going to happen, I relived my entire life. And guess what kind of questions and answers came during that time? It wasn't, how much time did you spend in the office? It was, what kind of connections did you make in life? What kind of, how much love did you show? And it just, when I lived through and my book tells about how I lived through it, but when I found I was still there in this life, I realized that the direction I'd been going was not the direction that I ought to be on for the rest of my life. And it transformed my life in the respect that I began to become introspective about relationship and about why I was here rather than how to achieve success. Because success ultimately is finding your own inner peace and happiness and helping others to find the same. And that was a totally different paradigm. So over the years I've become a minister in the Unity movement. And I've continued my business career. I retired on a Friday 10 years ago at 65. And on Monday I went back to work as a consultant for a Japanese company helping them globalize. And in that process, I freed up a lot of time and started a second business because it was fun. And instead of doing things because it was the right thing to do or because somebody else thought it was right or whatever, just like Josh is doing. He's doing it because he's got a passion for what he's doing, a really deep passion. And I think I've told this story, but I said to him a couple of years ago, Josh, you know, you're so involved in this, you're so passionate, but you're not earning any income. You know, how are you going to make it? Have you considered some other path in life? He says, no. I love what I'm doing. I have a total passion for this. And that's the way I feel now about what I'm doing. I'm involved with something analogous to what you guys are involved in. It's called the Light Path Center. And a group of us are putting together a retreat center to reincarnate spiritual wisdom and ancient wisdoms and put it together in a way that empowers people to begin to relate to a different way of living, a new paradigm as we call it. And it's based on the principle that the single biggest problem in the world today is the belief that we're all separate, that we're separate from each other, we're separate from the world, we're separate from the universe, that physically and mentally and any other way we're separate. And the one solution is recognizing that we're all one. And you would never want to do something to your body, a cell in your body, because it's not a part of you. If it's a sick cell, you want it to heal. And that's the way the belief in unity works, is that when one person is suffering, we're all affected by it. It's a dynamic that affects the entire network of life, and it's all interconnected in a web of life. Native Americans knew that, and we're learning it again. So you're interested in possibly pursuing a new paradigm. How is it possible to do that and still be successful in what you're doing and honored by the people around you, and it may not be. That's part of the answer, is that sometimes when you change your whole paradigm, people that you thought were your friends or thought were support systems, they kind of drop away. But it's not a bad thing, because you begin to connect with others that are like-minded. And what I've found is, for me, deep meditation is one of the most appropriate ways for me to find out what really is my passion, what really is my mission, why I'm here. It doesn't come from somebody else or from books. It comes from within. And so going within is the most important thing, because there's a deep inner wisdom that most of us don't tap into. They call it wisdom of the heart, but it's even beyond that. It's the wisdom of the spirit. It's the wisdom of the ages. It's the wisdom of the universe. And it all comes together when you quiet the mind and you listen for guidance. So yeah, Josh and I have always had this deep connection, and we've kind of honored each other and respected each other in many ways. And so I can't say there's ever been a real struggle between us. Yeah, teenage struggles, like all parents have, and trying to help him to find a path in life that I think is the easier path for him or the better path for him. But guess what? He has to find that. And what I learned from most of my interactions with Josh is that it's better, as a parent, to wait to be asked before you offer any advice. And when I take that mode with Josh, it works really well, because Josh has his deep pride as well, like we all do. And allowing him the respect of waiting until he really wants the help is the ideal place for me to step in. And probably there's just as many times as he can help me as I can help him.
Learning from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you get on as just best friends?
I would say so. Josh is a really true friend, as well as my son, and a guide for me as well as I am for him. We're all guides for each other. So for me, what is abundance? For me, abundance is relationship, number one. Having wonderful, deep relationships. After that, it's connection. It's recognizing that everything we ever need or want, if we're awake and aware, it's going to be there for us one way or another. There is such a thing as abundance in terms of money, which is the medium of energy exchange today in the old paradigm. However, as I think many people have pointed out, the more money you have doesn't make you more secure even. In fact, oftentimes you're less secure. I had a good friend who was a radio announcer in California, and he had all the money he could ever want. He had this beautiful estate, and he lived in constant fear. He had all the security systems you could imagine. He even had guards, and he gave it all away at one time and said, "This is it. I'm a prisoner in my own house." And I can tell you, too, that there's many people that were asked in a survey, if you could retire with some amount of money, how much would you need to retire successfully? And it didn't matter how much they had, whether it was 100,000 or 10 million or 100 million. It was usually somewhere around double would be enough. I mean, that's ridiculous to think that we have to always have so much more. I mean, I have a little sign on my desk that says the happiest man is not the one that has the most, it's the one who needs the least. The happiest person, let's say. And I think that's really the truth of the matter right there. So, yeah, what are the secrets to health at almost any age, really, is what the question is about. And for me, it's not so much what you eat as how you eat it, whether you bless it ahead of time, whether you recognize that you're a part of whatever it is that you're eating. It's a part of you, you're a part of it. And a practice could not just blessing the meal before you eat, but literally growing your own food could be one way of doing that, and recognizing that there's a relationship between you and what you're growing, and maybe even holding your orange in your hand before you eat it and just feeling the vibration and sensing that you're one. And the other point is that even if you get stuck someplace where you don't have the exact foods you may want to eat, as long as you don't fear that, hey, what I'm eating is going to make me fat, it's going to make me unhealthy, it's your attitude when you eat it that determines a lot of how that's processed in the body. And so it's amazing how much our mind and our emotions and our heart and everything else, spirit if you want to call it that, controls how that food is digested and processed. And when you eat it with love and with intent that it's going to make you healthy, it does change the paradigm, and you do get much more nutrition and health out of it. And of course the other for me is activity. Activity is the key to health. You stop your activity, you stop having good health. So you stay active, both mentally, physically, and spiritually. So, yeah, how do I find my own voice, my own inner intuition, and what are the most important values to me? I think that's the question. Okay. So for me, I say that my spiritual path is what provides the insights today for me. It used to be my business books and my success learnings and all the sunshine pumps of the universe that would feed information to you. But today, it's all about listening to that inner voice. And so the values that I seek are the virtue at the core of everything that I try to, let's say, get involved in. Is there love at the center of it? And is the answer to every question love? Yes, it is. So no matter what question is asked, no matter what problem you can suggest appears, looking at it and saying, what would love do? How would love answer that question? How would love deal with that problem? And so I think for me, the number one value is love and connection. And of course, I think if you have that, integrity, honor, everything else goes along with it. Love to me is the universe responding to me and me responding to the universe, recognizing that love is the universe, that what we call God or what we call source or what we call spirit is truly the one thing you can say that everybody might agree to is that love is that what it is. And when you recognize that, you find the universe is rigged on your behalf, that most things tend to turn out positive, and that when you stay connected in that respect, that you don't have to work so hard, that things tend to come to you, that you tend to be happier, you tend to find success without asking for success. It simply is an artifact of the way that you live and the way that you are, of your being. Music. I wish I could sing. I wish I could sing because I love music so much. And I can sing, of course, in the shower, in the car, and so on. And it doesn't bother anybody. But to me, music sets your mood in a way. When you play music that is something that is uplifting, it changes. It changes you, and you vibrate with that music. When you listen to music that's angry, you tend to get into that kind of a mood. So to me, music is like our emotions in a way. We can use it to allow us to get into harmony with our thoughts and our emotions, or we can use it to become more angry and hateful and start, being the hater that we don't want to be by listening to certain types of music. So I think it's really important to pick the type of music that helps to elevate our vibration and not lower our vibration. So education, to me, is critical for anyone in terms of wisdom, not in terms of knowledge, okay? If you think back to the ancient schools 4,000 years ago, Karnak and so on, You didn't get an education unless you showed the wisdom to use it appropriately. I've worked with many educated, you might say derelicts, if you will. They had so much education, they were so brilliant, but they didn't have the common sense to know how to deal with their fellow man. And so education alone isn't what it's about. It's about teaching wisdom. And our schools don't prepare students that way today. There's some. The Waldorf is a good example where they have interactive and they try to work with children and adapt to that children's behavior and life and style and so on, and recognize the needs of the child as opposed to just pumping information. Education, literally the root of the word, is to draw out from within. And that's what the job of any teacher is to recognize that every student has something within them that wants to come out, that is crying and to come out, that is passionate, and that's going to bless the world with that awareness. And how do you tap into that and pull it out instead of push things in? Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That was a
Yeah.
beautiful interview.
Good.
Thank you.
Oh, Rob, you did a great job, too.
Thank you.
Wow, you're a great interviewer. You drew it out of me. What can I say? I didn't have any of that before.